Okay, so the gathering activity for this one is that you want to make sure everybody has something to write on and some colors to write and draw with. So people would draw a line at the bottom of their paper. So again, this is a completed one, so you can't really see like all the individual elements as they go in, but they would draw a line an inch or two from the bottom of their paper. And so this represents the ground of their garden. You're going to invite participants to participate in an activity where we're going to do some gardening to help us think about the actions that we are poised to take for Christ's mission. So this gardening activity has three steps. They begin by thinking of the gifts, talents, and connections that are present in their community. So this could be a faith community that they're a part of or other communities that they're a part of. It's really up to them to decide. For each gift, talent, or connection, they would draw a flower and kind of label it. So you can see here, one of the gifts in my community is intentional affirmation. I have a friend who's really intentional about being specific about giving that. I also have a friend who's very funny. So humor is a gift or talent or connection that is in my community. Next, they would begin to think about what's stirring. What are they sensing from God? What has God planted and is waiting for the proper conditions to grow? So for each thing they think of for that, they can draw a different seed down below. So I planted the seed of peace gene, a passion for justice, and a prophetic voice. These are all the seeds that I think God has planted, and they're waiting for the right conditions to grow. And then finally, even though I'm actually a big fan of weeds, I think weeds get a bad rap. But for the final step, they're going to think of what is preventing action in the current moment. And for each thing that they think of, they can draw a weed in their garden. So I put like agendas and fear or competing loyalties are some weeds that might be getting in the way. So invite them to find one or two other people to share their garden with and see if there were any similarities in what they identified. Next, you can kind of review some of those things that might be getting in the way from those things that might be preventing us from taking action. And regardless of what the weeds in our garden are, we are called to lean into our hope of what could be and to take action in spite of the weeds. So our efforts might feel clumsy and small, and that's okay. The one thing that isn't okay is doing nothing in the face of the world's need. And so the video that you can then show to people is called How to Turn Your Dissatisfaction into Action. And the woman who gives this talk talks about how there was a crisis in the community that she was a part of. And she was, kind of feeling a little hopeless, a little helpless, didn't really know what to do, but she decided that inaction wasn't an option. And so she just kind of started chipping away at the problem and taking action. Long story short, which you'll hear when you watch the video, she is now the mayor of her community. And she continues to have this idea that when she's dissatisfied with something, that's not an excuse for apathy. That's not an opportunity to just walk away. It's an invitation and almost a requirement that she takes action to do something about it. So our collective sense of dissatisfaction and an unacceptable status quo kept us focused on getting things done. It's amazing what a dose of dissatisfaction can birth. And so then after, you share that quote from the video, you can ask what we are collectively dissatisfied with. What are we not okay with? Then there's another quote from the video, and you can follow up with the question, what change are you being called to risk in the spaces that you serve? You can close this section with the quote about the enormity of the world's grief and how it might make you want to give up. But that's not what you can do. You don't have to take on everything that the world is struggling with, but you do have to do justly now, love mercy now, and walk humbly now. Okay. Oh, okay. Here we go. So, as we are taking action, we must also be reflecting. It's important that we do these things in tandem. Otherwise, we risk taking action that doesn't respond to our context and new learnings, or we risk meaningless reflection that looks more like navel gazing than Christ's mission. So we take action and then we need to reflect on it. Reflection should happen both individually and in community. And so you can close this day with an individual reflective, at the end of the day, you're going to close with an individual reflective practice. But right now, they're going to practice reflecting in community. So you would break your participants into 5 groups. If you're going to have a massive class, like 80 people, you could do 10 groups and just have, 2 groups that have the same topic or the same story. So in the things that you can print out, those different missional examples, that's what you're going to share with each of these groups. This is called a jigsaw approach. So each group has a different topic or a different theme that they're focusing on, and they reflect on that as a group, and then they come and bring their reflections or their responses back to the whole group. So they would read their scenario that you've given them, and then they would reflect on 2 questions. What are we learning, and how might the Holy Spirit be inviting us into the next faithful step? Once they've had time to discuss that in their small groups, then they can come back and share with the whole group. So again, these examples are just like missional activities that a congregation could be participating in, and it'll have like a bit of information that's kind of woven throughout that they, will have to be really intentional to pay attention to. And then they come back together and they reflect, okay, we learned this as we were engaged in mission. What does that tell us about what we should do next? Okay, then you will move into the reflective discussion or discernment. And this is the process of action and reflection requiring us to awaken to God's presence all around us and the many ways that God speaks with us. So recently I had the privilege of getting to travel to the Philippines, and this was an activity we did in the Philippines, and it was my favorite activity. It's one that I will continue to come back to. So this is where the random pictures that you saw in the folder come into play. You'll cut out all of the pictures, allow people to just pick one picture, and then glue it either onto a piece of paper or into their journal. And they would then use that picture to inform the prayer prompts, the answers to the prayer prompts. So God of, if their picture is, a person with their arms wide open like this, God of expansive creation or something like that. You speak to me today as the wide mountain range unfolding before me. And you are here to say that your love is big enough and wide enough to encompass all of the concerns that I have or all of the problems that I see. So they're going to use whatever their picture is to write a prayer. So mine was a peacock, and it says, God of inexplicable beauty and undaunted authenticity, you speak to me today as a vibrant peacock, wooing me with a majestic vision of what might be. And you are here to say, come, co-create this glorious future with me. If you have time, which again, you probably won't, you can invite people to share their prayer. Then you would close with the prayer of examine, which is found in the Mission Prayer as a Way of Life guide.